I played in a One Piece regional championship for the trading card game. My name is Rahul. I'm a competitive Pokemon TCG player, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about my experience playing, kind of what it was like, what the list I chose to use, my 9 rounds, how it go, and how I finished. So first of all, I'm just a One Piece fan. I've like enjoyed the media, the content, all that good stuff for my whole life. And so when the trading card game came out, I decided, hey, it's going to be a good time to jump in. And I've been playing kind of on and off. It's like my side game. You guys know how busy I am with Pokemon. But when I do some side game stuff, I'm going to post it here to this channel. So if you guys want to come follow my journey with other card games and other games in general, you guys are more than welcome to. You don't have to. It's just kind of for funsies. Um, but anyway, so I go to this one in College Park, Maryland, which is like super close to my house. It's like less than an hour. I've gone past this for cups and stuff, so I'm like, you know what? I'll go. I'll sign up. All my locals are gonna go. It'll be a really fun time. So I signed up a long time ago, and every time I'm like, One Piece Regionals coming up. I'm definitely gonna read cards. I'm gonna practice. Yeah, it just gets worse and worse. So I just don't know what's going on half the time. So that being said, I show up pretty early because usually there's some check-in at regionals that I'm used to or whatever. No check-in, nothing. Doors aren't really open, I guess, when I get there, and people are all just standing outside loitering. Doors eventually open. The hall is not that big. It's pretty small actually. Or I guess okay, it was kind of spacious, but they put like 4 of us to a table, so it got really like crammed really fast. We were like, it was pretty tiny in terms of that. But it was like just being in a little like conference room, basically like a big conference room, and we were putting like 600 people in there basically. And I hadn't tested too much, so I naturally did not know what cards did. I didn't know what was going on, so I just asked my friend Hendy for a Zoro list. I said, "What should I play?" He sent me a Zoro list. I ended up getting the wrong one. I just copied Richard Gam's list. I ended up copying the wrong one because he did well twice in a row, and I played something that was slightly off the one that I was supposed to be playing, I guess. But I just played Green Zoro. And for those of you guys who don't know what Green Zoro is, it's basically just like aggro red. It's just mono straight, just super, super aggro. Zoro leader says that if you have 3 Dawn attached to it, once per turn, activate main. You can restand this leader, and it can swing at something that is 7 or higher, basically. So you can basically swing back at a character that's 7 or higher, or go back against a leader. So a lot of what Zoro does is like, hey, you played a guy, let me rest it using my Kuina or my Tashigi, and let me just give all my Dawn to Zoro, and then let me swing at leader. So a lot of it is just doing that. And then the end game, you have the 3 cost restand event, which just restands your Zoro. So you can basically just either pressure the board completely and wipe it all in one turn, or you can like make a play where you go like, okay, I'm going to swing 9 at your face. Let me restand my leader, go 9 at face. Let me restand my leader, go 9 at face. Let me restand my leader, like clear a body or something. And you can do a lot in one turn with that. But yeah, this is the list I chose to play. Everything was pretty broken. Can't really complain. And we'll jump into my tournament. So it might be a little bit more helpful. I pull some leaders for you guys while we're doing this. Like if I can find like a leader list or something. It should be easy if I can do that. This is the official One Piece site. That's probably my best bet. Because I also don't exactly know what every leader does, and explaining it's a little bit tough. It's like, dude, a Pokemon report, but I don't know what's going on. Okay, I pull up the card list of all the leaders. So, round 1 I hit Rayleigh. This one's the one that I think everyone kind of knows. Let me pull this one up. Not this one. Wait, what? I just want leaders. No, I don't want this. All search. I just want leaders. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do the alts are cooler. Silver's Rayleigh is leader that says once during your turn, or sorry, under the rules of the game, cannot wait, sorry. You cannot include cost of 5 or more in your deck with this leader, which is kind of cool. And then activate main once during your turn and reveal 2 events. Up to one of your characters with 4,000 base power or less gains 2,000 during this turn. The whole idea of this deck is you're playing these like 4 cost or less weenies that basically all can just flood the board, have rush, can do stuff. You basically play like your Nami. You reveal the 2 events. Your Nami, your searcher Nami gets pumped up gets pumped up 2K. Can now be a swinger. You have the Luffy's, they can swing in and all that kind of stuff. So this matchup is kind of bad for Zoro, just because they can like kind of flood your board. They can kind of get really aggressive with it. I end up losing the coin flip. They have a pretty perfect start, and I end up mulliganing into a. So One Piece also you can mulligan a hand into a hand of new 5, and so I end up mulliganing into a hand that's pretty bad. I end up mulliganing into like no Tashigi, no Kuina, but I have one searcher and it's like 4 2Ks. So I end up going for the I think it was a Perona. So I go Perona. I miss a Tashigi, and so I'm like, okay, this is not good. We're in a lot of danger. My opponent swings at me a bunch, gets a bunch of bodies on board. Eventually, I start clearing, And then there's a board state where my opponent has pretty much perfect lethal. So in One Piece, you can kind of do perfect math because if your opponent has like certain number of cards in hand, you can pretty easily say like, okay, they have a 2 card hand. That means that they can't defend more than 4K counter. Given each individual deck. If I had Dawn up, maybe I can do like 9 Blade into something else. But there's a spot where I had no Dawn up, none of that stuff. And so my opponent, all they had to do is swing perfect numbers. They end up getting a little bit too fancy with it and going wide on board and wasting a couple of Dawn. And now this gives me a position to actually counter out, but I'm exactly 1K short of countering out of the situation, which then loses me the first round. So I start 0-1, nothing too crazy. Like, I don't know how to play this game very well. I'm not like the best. The next round, we go up against Kuzan. I'll pull this leader up as well. Kuzan is a blue leader with 5 HP that says when a card is trashed from your hand by your Navy type card's effect, draw cards equal to the number of cards trashed. So basically, Kuzan can draw its like whole deck in one turn, just super aggressively. Not one turn, but like they're going to be cycling through their deck super aggressively, getting exactly what they want with all their searchers. Their whole deck is like Navy. The problem is against a deck like Zoro, they can't really establish their big bodies ever because at the turn they play like a big body that's like eight Dawn or something. The moment they do that, they're only left with like 1 or 2 Dawn up, and then I can just start swinging at their face like super aggressively. And early game, they can't really stop me from like Tashigi resting their small guys or Queen resting their small guys and just wiping them off the board. If they choose to protect them, then they're losing their counter that they have for the later parts of the game. So I didn't really know what Kuzan did. So in my situation, I was just swinging at their, like I would swing at whatever they turn sideways first. And then I would, if they, let it go, which most of the time they have to let it go, I would restand and then just go back face. So I'd go like 12 into like a 4K. They would let it go. And then I'd go 12 into like lead and they'd have to like either counter out with events or whatever. So at some point, the Kuzan deck, it's like a little bit resilient, but at some point they run out of their stuff and I can win. They do play Pudding, which shuffles my hand in and makes me draw 5. It's basically like Let Loose, and they end up doing it. But fortunately for me, I'm putting myself into a Mihawk, which is all I really care about because the Mihawk then stabilizes me for 1 turn because they went, the turn after they went Garp, Sakazuki and make a big board, but then I went Mihawk on the turn after they Puddinged. So I was able to go Mihawk, make a big board, a tall board specifically, swing at life, and then they weren't able to do anything, and then I was able to go 9 Blade, rest their board, and then take the 2 big boys off the board. So pretty good for me. The next round we went up against Bonnie, and now Bonnie's a leader that I have very not limited experience, but I just like don't know how to play against her properly. And I have like fumbled the bag quite a bit against Bonnie. Green Bonnie basically says like, on your opponent's attack once per turn, for 1 Dawn, you can rest one of your opponent's Dawn or leader or character cards. So basically, like, they can tap one of your guys when you're attacking. So you have to be very careful that you're not attacking out of order. So let's say you play a character, they can tap their Dawn and they can rest that while you're attacking, or they can just negate some of your attackers. So Bonnie's super strong in that aspect. The game is kind of just progressing, and I end up missing a swing somewhere in the middle of the game, and my opponent makes a pretty crazy remark where it's like, I'm not going to be rude or anything, but you definitely missed a swing, and then starts their turn and plays, and I was like, well, that's a little bit rude. And then there's a couple of instances as well where like they were swinging and they were like, I don't think you have it like that, brother. Like you don't got it. But I think it was like supposed to be banter. I just like don't know this guy like that, and I don't know the game very well, so it felt like I was definitely being like looked down on, which is like I definitely wasn't playing well, right? Like I'm like still making a lot of mistakes, and I'm sure there's like optimal situations and scenarios, but yeah, I ended up getting to a board state where like my whole board gets stun locked a couple turns in a row, and my opponent ends the game with a Hody Jones, where the Hody Jones just can rush, and they had 1 extra swing than what I was anticipating. So I did not calculate for the Hody, and they had like a 2 card hand or whatever when I was done, like finishing my swings. So they were able to use their Hody. But I'm pretty sure if I had that 1 more swing that I missed out on, I would have been able to wipe a body. So either I take the Mihawk or the Dofi off the board. And if I'm able to do that, I think that they have 1 less body to swing with. So they need to play another big card to stun lock me. So if they have 1 less swing, then they would have had to go Hody, and I think they actually can't lethal me, so I probably would have won the game. So that 1 swing, I think, actually might have changed the course of the game, unfortunately for me. So I can like very easily pinpoint where like I guess my tournament ends because X2 doesn't really get anything, especially when it's this early. Yeah, so I pretty much threw this round, I guess, is what I'm trying to say as a yeah. And then round 4 got a no show, so that was pretty cool. I sat down, I was waiting, no one showed up, I left. I got my win. So 2-2. At this point, I was contemplating dropping like really hard and going home because I was only a few minutes home, like 30 minutes from home. But I decided I'm gonna stick it out and like play it out because I don't get to play One Piece very often. So I might as well, have a good time. Next round I played against Blue Purple Sanji. I had no idea what this card did. Basically, what this is a 4 life leader, which is good for me because I'm just an aggro deck. Activate main once per turn, Dawn -1. Activate one of your Straw Hat type crew type event with a base cost of 3 or less from your hand. So basically, you can just play a Straw Hat event from your hand, and when you're attacking, if you have equal or less, you get a Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. So basically, you keep cycling events. It's kind of a cool idea, but it's like a bunch of events that are trying to do stuff. So the first like 3 turns of the game, my opponent's just like playing a bunch of events and like ramping up to something, but they've not played any bodies. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm just swinging like big numbers at face and they're taking it. So they're down to like 1 life before they play some bodies. And eventually they play like a Pudding and a Sanji, and the Sanji says like 5 times the number or 1K for each 5 events in your discard, and then Pudding. And I was like, okay, my like 9 card hand, because I'm just not playing cards. I'm like, I don't have a reason to be playing cards when I don't need to be searching for anything. I have everything I need in my hand. I'm just going to keep going big numbers at life because, like, if you're playing a deck with a bunch of events, either I force you to use your events, or you just take these life and then go down to like 1, and then I can just make big swings at the end with my three cost restand event, which is what I was planning on doing. Like, I was going down to like, if I on like my 12 Dawn turn, I was just going to slam like a bunch of stuff. And then off my Pudding, I end up finding a Tashigi, which is like really all I cared about. I got a Tashigi, I Tashigi'd their Pudding, swung into Pudding, took that off the board, went for life. They had to give me like 3 cards or something at this point. They're down to like a 2 card hand or something like that. Like they were down like really low in cards. They drew, played a couple more stuff, swung on my life. I took at this point because like I've had like 4 life or something. I was very healthy, and then I cleared their board, and then I just went for life and they lost. So not really sure what this deck is like meant to be doing, but I was able to just kind of blow it out of the water. Round 6, then I hit Shanks. Now Shanks is a deck I'm very intimately familiar with. It's something that I played for a little bit. Very much enjoy the concept of the Shanks, where it's like play a big body, do something. Shanks says once during your turn, you can give one of your opponent's leader or character attack -1K less, and then yeah, it's 6 for the whole turn. So there's a new Shanks as well that says like if you discard a card -2K to one thing as well. It's actually really good in Zoro because you can basically -2K my leader for the turn. So even if I restand it, I get the -3K from the Shanks leader plus the Shanks character. So I'm now like, let's say I was swinging for 8 originally, now I'm swinging for 5. And 2 swings for 5 is a lot less like threatening than 2 swings for 8, right? So my opponent has like a pretty rough start, and I'm able to kind of clear all of her bodies, and I have 9 Blade in my hand as well. I searched it off of a Hiyori, not Hiyori, a Perona or something at some point. So I have the 9 Blade, and so I go 9 Blade. Her Rayleigh, when she plays it, which was I think her big play, I take the Rayleigh off the board. She goes big Shanks, the 12 cost Shanks, 10 cost Shanks, and swings at my life. I take the life. I put all 15 on my leader. I swing it back at the Shanks. And the Shanks goes down because I think at that point, like committing like 2 or 3 cards out of your hand to keep your Shanks alive is just not worth it. And she only had like a 3 card hand, I think, so it was like committing her whole hand. It didn't work out, and then I go for life, and then eventually I get her down to like 1 life, and I have like 4 or 3 or 4, and she plays like triple Shanks blocker to just like bolster her board. And I'm like, okay, and I like play like really defensive from that point onwards, where like I like play a couple of Mihawks from my hand, and I like never turn my Mihawk sideways for some reason because I'm really scared. And she was like, you probably could have won like 2 turns earlier, and I was like, I don't know, I was just really scared. Like I don't like know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like if I turn my guy sideways, let's just say like you play like 10 cost Shanks and just like rush everyone in, maybe I just lose. Because my hand didn't have a ton of counter. I had maybe like 3K or 4K counter in my hand, but I just was like, I'll just play it safe. I have like 2 restand events. Like I will make some bodies, and then I'll just go like restand, end the game, I think. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm able to win that round. Next up, I go against GY Law. Now, this is also a deck that I had literally no clue what was going on. This whole tournament, the theme is all my opponents could have like fully cheated against me, and I would not know what's going on. I would just have trust them. But the best part is it's a 4 life leader. Now, Law says Dawn 1, activate main once per turn. If your total cost is 5 or more, you may return one of your characters to your owner's hand. Reveal 1 card from the top of your life cards. If it's a supernova, play that card. So my opponent did this like 3 times, and they never set something to the top of their life. Every single time they put something there, or they checked, there was never a character to play. So I think they definitely low rolled this aspect of the game, and that was like kind of unfortunate for them. And then there was a board state where if they just started swinging life, they would have just won. But they ended up passing for some reason with like a really stacked board and 2 blockers, and I had enough swings to get through everything because my board was pretty good as well. And I was thinking in my head like on my turn, like I knew it was a do or die for me, and I didn't end up getting through. So on their turn, they had to, I think, return in the same way, and they just didn't, which was really interesting because I thought like maybe they were a little bit short of making a mistake. But I think again, One Piece is a game of like inches where like if everyone sets up perfectly and draws well, like I don't know, it comes down to like 1K counter, one swing that you could have made a little bit differently, small stuff like that. But I think I should have lost this game for sure against GY Law. And then we go up against GP Luffy. I just typed in. There's gonna be a lot of Luffy's. Oops. GP Luffy is one of the more popular decks in the format, and it's one of the more powerful decks. I'll just do the Dodgers one. Activate main. Once your turn, -2 if the character's on your field Straw Hat type. Set up to 2 of your Dawn active, and you get 1,000 power till your next turn. So you basically couple this with Sanji and Pudding, and basically just can keep recycling the same Dawn that you're putting away. To get more Dawn, you get more active Dawn specifically, and then your leader becomes a 6K leader, and then you're cycling cards as well through this whole process. And so your Sanji Puddings are like very, very valuable. Um, that being said, this deck is pretty susceptible to aggro. So I basically just went aggro in, and my opponent went for the response on their own aggro because they went down to 0 life pretty early, and they went for like a turn where I had 3 life and they had 6 swings. They had 6 swings that they had to get through, and they were not able to get through those 6 swings. So I was able to survive. With I think one of the swings, like the last swing was like 9K, and I had like 10K counter in hand. Or sorry, like I got up to 10K, and so I was able to get out of it, and they conceded the game because I just went super aggro. My hand was just like conducive to just big swings, big swings, big swings, and so that's what I kept doing because I couldn't really do anything else. Round 9 was Smoker. Now this is where like the top tables were a little bit more um, like less friendly, like more intense because people are like, some people are playing for cereal, some people are playing for cut. I was playing for the love of the game at this point. Not really much I could be doing. RG Smoker, all of your Navy or Punk Hazard type gets 1,000 power during your opponent's turn. They're a little bit bigger. Once on your turn, if you have 7,000 or more, set up 2 Dawn cards active. So basically, like they just kept cycling a bunch of Dawn. The problem is they were a 4 life leader, so they were able to pressure them pretty aggressively. At the end of the game, there was a board state where I had 1 card in hand, and if they went 6K with Virgo into my lead, and I took, they could have gone 8K with their blocker and tried to win the game on that turn, or just put me to 0 and see what I do on my turn. But the problem is they turned one of their blockers sideways at the beginning of the turn, like the smoker leader or blocker, to do a ton of damage, and they just left themselves up to the 4, where they were like, "Hey, I'm basically indicating I'm like bluffing a blocker or something." But they never played the blocker, and they said they had it in hand. They were meaning to play the blocker, so they would have 2 blockers on board and leader and 0 life. But on my turn, I had a Zoro swing plus a Tashigi already on board, and I had the 3-cost restand event that I drew into. So I would have gone 12 at lead. They have to block. I get to restand. I get to go 12 at lead. They have to block. I go restand event. I go 12 at lead, and they would have basically had to dump their whole hand so the Tashigi swing gets through. So if they had played the second blocker, that's what would happen. They didn't even play the second blocker, so I didn't even have to like worry about it. I didn't even have to play my 3-cost event. I just went restand and I went for life. So I was able to win. But I think if they had gone for game, they would have won because they didn't know my card in hand was restand event. They thought it was a 2K because I was countering out pretty aggressively, and they were like, "Wow, this guy's countering out perfectly every single time." Turns out I didn't have that much counter left in hand. This was my last card. So end up finishing 42nd, which does net me a pretty exclusive promotional card, the Yasop. Only given out the top 64, a black gold Dawn card, which is like an energy card, a couple of event packs that are extra, and a Boa Hancock pair of sleeves. So, ton of fun playing the regionals. Bandai events are still not very well organized and done well, but to each their own. They'll figure it out hopefully at some point in life. But I just wanted to kind of make a quick tournament report because I'm going to be doing secondary content on the channel. I'm going to be doing Riftband, going to be doing One Piece, all that good stuff. So you guys want to stick around and hang out, I'd appreciate it. But other than that, peace out and have a great one.